Wow. The Last Mermaid #1 is good. Like, really good. Beautiful, even. I don't mean to sound offensively surprised when I say that. It's just that I had never heard of our author and illustrator Derek Kirk Kim coming into this issue, so I really had no idea what to expect. So imagine my surprise when the issue opened in what is essentially a desert wasteland, and the only identifiable landmark is the remains of the Golden Gate Bridge. Our main character is the titular Last Mermaid, who's sitting in a water tank on a robot that she's piloting around the desert, looking for fresh water. She's a mermaid, so naturally she needs water. I wasn't surprised at all to learn that Derek Kirk Kim's background is mostly in animation. Because as I was flipping through this issue, I couldn't help but think, this reminds me a lot of a Pixar movie, in the sense that we have a really basic, simple story combined with some really stunning visuals. Like some of the most amazing visuals I've seen in a comic book so far this year. The colors in this issue are absolutely stunning in an unexpected sort of way, in the sense that we're expecting a story called The Last Mermaid to take place underwater, so I was expecting lots of blues and bluish greens, etc., but instead we've got a lot of oranges and yellows, and we've got a desert setting, which we couldn't necessarily have anticipated. We also meet the character of Lottie in this issue, who is our main character's underwater, alienish type sidekick. I don't know exactly what Lottie is, but I'm looking forward to seeing more in the future. The Last Mermaid #1 really caught me off guard in the best way possible. I meant it when I said that this is a beautiful issue. And if you haven't purchased it yet, I highly recommend it. This book deserves to be seen. The Last Mermaid #2 has an axolotl in it. Don't know what an axolotl is? Don't feel bad. Neither did I. Yeah, I had originally thought that this creature on the cover was like a little alien sidekick type thing. Turns out it's an axolotl, which is a sort of rare salamander, I guess. To all the axolotls that are watching me, I apologize. It's actually difficult for me to convey just how gorgeous this art is by Derek Kirk Kim, who's also our author. A lot of beautiful nature shots with some future technology mixed in there. Kim is also really good with character expression and emotion. Case in point, there's a scene early in this issue when our title character, the Last Mermaid, finally finds some water, and the joy and the relief in her face and in her body language is palpable. It's really well done. Incidentally, we still don't know our main character's name. Which makes sense, I guess. I mean, it's not like there's anyone else around for her to introduce herself to or to say her name to. We actually find out in this book that the Last Mermaid is capable of camouflaging herself to fit into her surroundings. Is that a thing that mermaids can do, mythologically speaking? If it is, I wasn't aware. Ariel didn't do that, that's all I know. Is this person on the cover to The Last Mermaid #3 going to be the only human biped we see in the story? Probably not, but right now they are. That's kind of funny to me. Well, what do you know about that? Yeah, I mean, I'm joking, but there is a certain novelty to the fact that this person has human legs. Because, I mean, we've spent the entire story up to this point with a mermaid and an axolotl, like a little salamander. So it's a thing. There's a really cool looking giant white sea monster in this issue, which I'm going to bend my rules here and show to you because this image appears on the back cover to the issue. Yeah, that's the thing about The Last Mermaid, not a lot of preview art, which, hey, that's great as far as opening the issue and being surprised is concerned, but it makes my job harder. job. Yeah, like I get paid to do this. This issue has a lot more action than its two predecessors, specifically in the sense that we have physical confrontations between characters. And the best thing that this issue has going for it, at least for my money, is that it's really cool to see sort of traditional comic book style action done with the sort of painterly style that Derek Kirk Kim uses for the art here. The dimensions of The Last Mermaid are interesting, and even a point of contention for some. The dimensions are unusual, and they might make things a little bit more difficult for collectors and comic shops, but I think it's worth it. I think the effect is a lot like watching a movie on an IMAX screen. And who knows, maybe in an upcoming interview, Derek Kirk Kim will talk about how he chose those dimensions for The Last Mermaid. Just saying. Okay, let's say you have two characters. One is like a Disney, wide-eyed looking mermaid character with a little animal sidekick, and the other is a character who's dressed all in black, and they're like a warrior, assassin, bounty hunter type character. Which one would you assume is the cynical one? The Last Mermaid number 4 plays with your expectations in that respect. We kind of get to know our characters in this issue a little bit more, and we find out that our titular Last Mermaid kind of has a cynical side. You don't expect that from her, do you? I mean, I think at first glance we all kind of expect her to be like Ariel. And Ariel was many things, but she was not a cynic. Or much of a critical thinker. But yeah, the book kind of turns your expectations against you in terms of who you're expecting these two characters to be. Our black-clad warrior character even quotes Mr. Rogers at one point, which means that spiritually, if not physically, Mr. Rogers survives the apocalypse. Way to go, Fred. One advantage that Derek Kirk Kim has from an artistic standpoint is that certain things just look cool in this painterly style that he uses. For instance, there's a moment when our mermaid character wipes some blood off the window of her Havoc, of the big machine she rides around in. And I don't know, it just looks cooler when it's done in that style. It's mundane, but it's special somehow. Our main character, of course, has an axolotl sidekick named Lottie. And I had no idea what axolotls were when this book started. And apparently I'm the only one, because I asked my wife recently if she knew what axolotls were, and she said of course I did. So yeah, I'm now convinced that there's some kind of underground axolotl appreciation group that everyone is a member of except me. The Axolotl Appreciation Society, I guess. Ass. How do you win friends and establish trust in a post-apocalyptic wasteland? Well, that's largely what The Last Mermaid number 5 is about. But the short answer is you save each other's asses a couple of times. Yeah, we've got this dark warrior character, Torque, who is now on a quest with our titular Last Mermaid, whose name we still don't know. Torque really seems to want to gain the mermaid's trust and friendship, but those are two things she's very reluctant to give for reasons we haven't quite revealed yet. I really like this story of a slowly budding, forming friendship and partnership between these two characters. It's a very human way to kind of ground the story amidst all the fantastical stuff we're seeing. Naturally, as the story continues to expand, we're seeing more monsters and creatures and even some different technology. Case in point, we meet the mutants in this issue, one of whom is on the cover. There's a really cool high-octane chase sequence in this issue, and at the risk of repeating myself over and over again, it looks really, really cool in this sort of painterly style that Derek Kirk Kim uses. I also get a kick out of the fact that the Havoc, the big machine that the mermaid rides around in,
turns into a car. It's kind of Transformers-ish in that sense. I'm just hoping that if The Last Mermaid ever gets made into a film of some kind, the title character will not be played by Megan Fox. In fact, if we could get that in writing from somebody, I would really appreciate that, personally. We finally find out our title character's name in The Last Mermaid number 6. You want to know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. Swifty. Swifty the Mermaid. Yeah, even after the world ends, Taylor Swift fans really go hard. No, it's not actually Swifty. I'm not going to tell you what the name is in case you decide to go out and buy this book, which I think you should be doing. As much as ever, The Last Mermaid is really worth your time and energy. As much as anything else, I think this first volume of The Last Mermaid really turned out to be about learning to trust someone and learning to open up and be vulnerable, because despite all the awfulness that can be going on around you sometimes, there is good in the world and there are good people in the world. And at its core, that's a really nice, uplifting message. Although, I guess in contrast, you also have these kinds of people. Look at those eyes. How do you draw eyes that are that crazy? According to the letters column at the end of the story, The Last Mermaid is about to go on a hiatus for several months so that Derek Kirk Kim, our author and illustrator, can kind of catch up page-wise. Selfishly, that kind of sucks for a number of reasons, not the least of which being I was very curious to see how this character would behave in a Christmas-themed issue. But at the same time, I get it. I mean, Derek Kirk Kim is a one-man show here. That's one of the more amazing things about this book. It's that all these ideas and all this creativity are coming from one guy. A guy that I interviewed, by the way. Oh yeah, you can go on the Comic Book Chronicles YouTube channel and see it now. But I'm willing to make this book the same bargain that I make with any other comic book that goes on hiatus. As long as you come back at the same quality that you left at, you're good. And based on what we've been getting so far from The Last Mermaid, I don't see any reason why that shouldn't happen. So, hope to see you soon, Swifty.